Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are continuing the season prediction series as we look at the lineups today. Out in the Western Conference, in the Central Division, is your Arizona Coyotes. So we're taking a look at the Yotes in today's video. So the Arizona Coyotes have had actually a couple of changes to the lineup, and that's why I would have liked to have done this in alphabetical order, but then obviously the Kotkaniemi offer sheet affected the Arizona Coyotes, so we'll be getting to that. So let's get right into it. So we're looking at the forward lines for the Arizona Coyotes. They've had a lot of departures over this past season, and up front, it is pretty noticeable. You look at their top six, you got Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, and Phil Kessel as your projected top line. I absolutely agree with that. Nick Schmaltz is a very good center. I don't necessarily think he's a first-line center on a playoff contender, but Nick Schmaltz is a good player. He's got to stay healthy, though. That is the biggest concern I have about Schmaltz. But other than that, a pretty good lineup. And you need to see more from a guy like Clayton Keller, Phil Kessel. They all had a down season last year. So you're expecting their stock to rise a little bit at some point this year. Second line looks very, very interesting. So Christian Fischer, no real surprise there. But then you have Barrett Hayden, the former top 5 draft pick of the Yotes back a couple years ago. He will be the second-line center of the Coyotes, so a big role for Barrett Hayden in the NHL this year. He was more of a bottom 6 guy, kind of just trying to get his way into the NHL, get some confidence last year. He definitely will be getting a bigger role this year. Now, the left side is going to be interesting. I put Dmitry Yaskin there. I don't think Dmitry Yaskin came back to North America to play in the bottom 6 again. I see him as a second-line guy that wants to put up points, and that's what Dmitry Yaskin has done in Russia throughout his entire pro career. He has just struggled in North America. And I think with a new head coach and a new opportunity in Arizona and potentially more minutes to play, this is an opportunity for a guy like Dmitry Yaskin to finally get his real shot in the NHL. The bottom 6, you got Ryan Dzingel and Lawson Krause on the wings. You got Johan Larsson down the middle. I don't necessarily hate that. I think that's a pretty solid third line. Again, Dzingel had a down year. Krause, you're kind of expecting a little more from him, but he did have some points last year, showing real potential for what he should have been as a first-round pick. So we'll see what happens with Lawson Krause. You got your fourth line, which is really up for grabs. You got Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, and Anton Marcel. And the biggest issue with this fourth line is I don't know how healthy they're going to be. So this could be your opening night lineup, but by 10, 15 games into the season, some of these guys like Jay Beagle, who are notoriously known for getting hurt, they may not be there. And that's why you're going to rely on some of the depth. Guys like Andrew Ladd, Liam O'Brien, and Travis Boyd, a couple of former Hershey Bears there. I'm not too surprised that those guys will jump into the lineup. Now, Andrew Ladd said when he was with the Islanders, I could play in the NHL. I got this. He played in one game in Bridgeport last season with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, the worst team in the AHL. So there is some concern about Andrew Ladd's ability to play. Louis Eriksson, I think he's trying to rewrite the script here, and I think he's trying to prove some people wrong up in Vancouver. So he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And I think guys like Beagle and Russell kind of are at the same point as well. And you have some guys like Liam O'Brien and Travis Boyd, good penalty-killing, defensive-minded players that'll round out that bottom 6. The skill isn't there for this bottom 6, but to be completely honest, I like what they're trying to do with despite the lack of skill, they do have guys that will want to play, and I think that's important for the Coyotes this year in particular. Now, looking at their defense, it's a little bit of a different story. You've got a lot of young guys, but you also have some guys you're just hoping for a bounce-back season. Jacob Chychrun and Connor Timmins is your top pair. Now, you could argue that some of the other right-shot defensemen can also play with Chychrun on that top pair. The reason I like Connor Timmins is we saw some growth from him last season with the Colorado Avalanche. And I think playing with a guy like Jacob Chychrun is going to allow a guy like Timmins to develop maybe a little bit faster. And that could potentially be your top penalty-killing guy. And I think a guy like Connor Timmins fits in really well with what the Coyotes need for the future and for the now for this team. Your second pairing, you got Shane Gostisbehere and Victor Soderstrom. Now, I like this pair because Soderstrom may have to work on his defensive capabilities. He may be more of the shutdown defenseman on this pair. And Shane Gostisbehere would be more of the offensive-minded guy. Again, a guy that's going to be running the power play, as the quarterback. That's what you're kind of looking for from Shane Gostisbehere, a good puck-moving defenseman to move the puck out of the defensive zone into the offensive zone up to some of these guys. I think a guy like Gostisbehere fits in quite well. And then the third pairing, you have Anton Strawman and Ilya Lyubushkin. Now, I think there is some reason to be said that second and third pairing could be mishmashed a little bit to make more of the the offensive-minded guy and the defensive guy paired together. I think they will try that. But I could see Lyubushkin and Strawman being a nice group there. With that said, though, Kyle Capobianco is another name that I think the Coyotes should keep an eye on. I think he's still fairly young. He still has some potential to be a good, maybe second or third pairing defenseman. And I really like what Capobianco could add to the Arizona Coyotes at points this season. So there actually is some pretty good defensive depth in that regard. Other than that 7, though, it does get a little bit thin in terms of skill on that defensive side of the puck for the Yotes. In between the pipes, definitely an interesting look as they let go of all 3 of their goaltenders from last year, and they're bringing a completely new tandem in. Josef Kozenar will be the backup behind Carter Hutton, who has spent some time with the Buffalo Sabres. Things haven't really worked out so well for him in Buffalo, so he's going to get an opportunity here in Arizona. He's either going to treat this like a retirement ticket where he could retire in Arizona, or maybe a second breath of fresh air for Carter Hutton to get a competitive nature back into him. And in an environment like Arizona, that could be up for an interesting discussion for Carter Hutton this season, whether he will be able to do that or not. Now, looking at the Yotes lineup, they just let go of Christian Devorak. He is now a member of the Montreal Canadiens. They did pick up a first and a second round pick from the Montreal Canadiens, which is a pretty nice package, if we're going to be honest. A really good job there by GM Armstrong getting that deal done, getting a first and a second for a guy like Christian Devorak. That is just huge for the Arizona Coyotes. Now, with that said, that does leave some more holes in this lineup, and I just don't necessarily know how the Coyotes look in terms of a team that's going to be competitive. I just don't see it this year. I think they see, hey, we're going to be in the Central Division. We've got teams like the Colorado Avalanche, the Chicago Blackhawks, the St. Louis Blues, the Dallas Stars, who went to the Stanley Cup Final last year. And you still have teams like Nashville, who I still, despite them not being good last year, are still better than these Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes will probably finish last in their first season in the Central Division. I just think there's too many holes on this team, not enough skill, and they're going to need some development and growth from guys like Barrett Hayden, guys like Christian Fischer, and guys like Soderstrom and Timmins on the back end for this team to be, at the very least, competitive this year. And I don't know how I feel about their goaltending in terms of it being good enough to be a playoff team, especially in that Central Division. So, with that said, the Arizona Coyotes, I think there's some reasons to be optimistic with guys like Hayden and Fisher getting into the top 6. But like I said, there is my concerns about the depth of this team. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Arizona Coyotes? What do you think of my lineup? Do you agree? Do you not agree? Leave your lineup predictions in the comments down below. Guys, and as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you again next time.